Degrees here at JSU from that First Alert Sky Vision camera at the Houston Cole Library. And temperatures tonight, well, we're 39 at Gadsden. There's a good chance, again, we're going to drop to freezing, especially areas north and east, but it won't stay there for long tonight. We do have some milder air that's building in. We've got a south flow that's kicked in. Notice how the winds are still elevated, especially across west Alabama, and overnight tonight we'll gradually see that breeze come back out of the south to southwest. We're seeing some milder air that's going to be building back in from the southwest direction. What will happen, it may bring in as some of that moisture lifts back in here, maybe a few clouds mixing in tomorrow, but the core of the coldest air is starting to slide off to the east. There's still freeze warnings that extend well south into the state of Florida tonight, down into the parts of the Florida Peninsula underneath freeze advisories for tonight, and it looks like those temperatures, at least the frigid air, is starting to slide on out of the region here. But as we look ahead tonight, notice how the temperatures kind of level off. We'll see that near freezing in a lot of locations, but on average, by the time we hit the road tomorrow morning, 4 to 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, temperatures will be in the mid-30s for a lot of areas, and that breeze out of the south direction. Some more clouds mix in tomorrow, but if you look up, you start to see some, well, there's a lot of clouds moving in. We're not expecting any wet weather tomorrow. We do expect a dry day and a nice warm up into the upper 60s for tomorrow afternoon, and it goes even warmer as we get into Thursday. Afternoon highs in the 70s. Also Friday, Saturday. Saturday looks like a dry day. Nice day coming up Saturday for those plans. Sunday, more clouds, but now has trended dry. At the earliest, we're seeing that next chance of rain coming back next week. So that's one of the next big things we'll be talking more about when we show you that 10-day forecast. But something that we're also keeping our eye on. This is from the Space Weather Prediction Center. A severe geomagnetic storm watch has been issued for tomorrow during the day. And a CME, as we call it, coronal mass ejection from the sun, all that material from the sun, it races out from solar flares towards the earth. It's expected to impact the earth sometime around noon. Now, of course, this can have major impacts on all the orbiting instruments and the satellites. That can have big impacts, and also depending on when it hits, it can really set off those northern lights and the aurora borealis, as we call it. It could be as visible as far south as Alabama and California tomorrow evening, and sometimes these events can really surprise you at the last minute. Typically on a scale of 0 to 5, we see the rankings of the geomagnetic storms, and this one for tomorrow is expected to be at G4, and that's what happened last time. You remember at Alabama, and it jumped to a 5 at last minute, and we were able to capture some amazing photos. One of the most incredible things we've witnessed here as far as space weather, but we'll be talking more about that. I'll have some maps to share with you as we continue. But people who are traveling right now are facing delays and headaches, which the same system that impacted us with all the record temperatures, well, that's brought a lot of early season snow, of course, in the Midwest, and that paired with air traffic control staffing issues means that air travel, it's a mess right now. And Karen Kafa has the story.
Their flight from New Orleans to Chicago was canceled, but when they hopped into a rental car north, Grace Butler and her boyfriend encountered another snag in Illinois early Monday. The cascade of flight delays and cancellations related to the government shutdown has met an Arctic air mass poised to chill the eastern two-thirds of the country. Monday's big snow totals branching out from Chicago and around the Great Lakes and compounding an already messy situation at some major airports.
I'm exhausted. I am tired. I am mad. I had to call the customer service. They couldn't give me anything.
Delays due to air traffic controller staffing shortages began early Monday at airports including Chicago's O'Hare, Phoenix, and Dallas. This after the worst weekend for air traffic control staffing since the start of the government shutdown, as controllers are asked to continue to work without pay.
When the most disciplined safety workforce in America is forced to think about survival instead of public safety, this is the cost.
Some passengers exhausted by a lack of options.
When I got here to get my flight to Seattle today, because they didn't have Portland, the Seattle flight is delayed, so I cannot get to Seattle, so I cannot get the train to get to Portland.
Meanwhile, the Arctic blast has the potential to bring record cold temperatures as far south as Florida. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
All right, if you're about to head outdoors, it's cold out there. Some current conditions, 45 right now in Jasper from Young Jewelers. Dew point of 21, and that still means the air, it is so dry out there. Those temperatures could easily drop into the 20s for some locations. Lake Tuscaloosa, also 48 degrees out there tonight. Don't know if we're going to go quite that cold because the dew points are actually expected to come up overnight. Bluff Park Diner, you can see they're showing 46 degrees. The sky right now mostly clear, but we still have that breeze. Notice the wind at 11 miles per hour. One of the colder spots that stood out, Gadsden down to 39. So Atala over to Rainbow City, our friends to the north there around Reese City, giving you that first alert. A good chance that we're going to see freezing temperatures across West Alabama. 48 Tuscaloosa, which actually started out as one of the colder spots today here in West Alabama. I think tonight these temperatures do level off in the mid 40s for the overnight hours. But again, this evening you can see there a nice drop in temperatures, but a little breezy, and even though the wind is out of the south, that is going to add quite a wind chill. But speaking of those morning temperatures, it wasn't just a first alert weather day for the first freeze. It was a record-setting day to kick things off. Meteorologist Matt Daniel joins us now with a look at the record low temperatures for this day.
Well, the good news, this cold snap we were advertising is officially coming to an end. It's going to start to warm up, but let's talk about how cold it was yesterday. I mentioned yesterday that we just shattered the coolest high temperature ever recorded, but let's show you visibly how that worked. 46 was the coolest high temperature on November 10th, set back in 1950. Here's what the actual high was yesterday. 42 degrees. So we just destroyed that record on the 10th. What about Tuscaloosa? Your coolest high temperature recorded was back in 1977 on November 10th of 51. Check out the high from yesterday. Only 44 degrees. Incredible. You know, when you break records, it's usually by a degree or two. I mean, we're talking about several degrees. And then when it comes to Anniston, your record for the coolest high temperature for November 10th was set back in 1950 at 47. You ended up at 41 degrees. Of course, this morning was very cold. When you have a clear sky and light winds and an Arctic air mass, those temperatures drop like a rock. And our weather watchers gave us a lot of updates. We always appreciate them. Lamar County, Tony McDonald reporting a low this morning of 20 in Columbiana. Travis reporting 21 degrees. In Oakman, Sarah Porter reporting 22, as well as 22 in Alabaster from John King. Ronald and Coker are reporting 23, and it was also 23 degrees there in Sylacauga by Bobby Davis. So we appreciate our weather watchers a lot. And here's a look at those official numbers from the National Weather Service. It dropped down to 19 degrees in Jasper. I think we all kind of expected to see some upper teens, especially to the north. So we saw that 20 degrees in Haleyville, Thorsby at 21, Gadsden at 21, just very cold temperatures this morning. The big question is, did we tie or possibly break any of those record low temperatures? Well, we did. Check this out. Birmingham, 25 degrees. We tied the record set back in 1926. Tuscaloosa, you dropped down to 24. The record was 26 degrees back in 1953. And Anniston, 23 was your low. The record was 24 back in 1950. So if you're tired of the cold weather, of course, we'll have more opportunities for it as we get closer to winter. But at least in the short term, it looks like we'll see some warmer temperatures on the way.
All right, the record cold temperatures we've seen could impact the citrus crop in Florida. We'll show you how farmers in the Sunshine State are preparing, plus why a degree or two could have a major impact.
You're watching WBRC 6 News, Alabama Broadcasters Association's Station of the Year.
Well, families of children killed during the floods in Texas, well, they're suing the summer camp for negligence. The families of some campers and counselors who died at Camp Mystic in July filed a lawsuit claiming the camp disregarded safety ahead of the deadly floods. Lawsuit says the deaths of 27 people at the camp could have been prevented if the camp adopted evacuation plans as required by the state. Lawsuit also claims Camp Mystic avoided weather warnings of the impending flood. The camp says it disagrees with the claims in the lawsuit and plans to prove there were no adequate warning systems in place to signal the actual dangers of the flood. The United States is giving Jamaica and Haiti another $12.5 million to help with the recovery efforts after Hurricane Melissa. The funding is expected to be used for clearing away debris, emergency health care, water, and of course food assistance. The total amount of aid the U.S. has provided for the devastated area now stands at $37 million. Melissa was a Category 5 when it hit Jamaica last month. So far, 83 people have been confirmed dead because of the storm. Damage is estimated to be in the tens of billions of dollars. People in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Ohio, well, they're used to seeing a little bit of snow, but the amount of snow that's come so early this year has caught many by surprise. As Mike Seidel tells us, the early season snowstorm is impacting people from the Midwest through the Northeast.
The first snowfall of the season hit parts of the Great Lakes on Sunday and Monday, with some areas seeing up to a foot of snow. The National Weather Service issued lake effect snow warnings, with some spots in New York and Pennsylvania picking up another 6 inches of snow.
There's a lot of challenges, a lot of slippery roads, especially on the expressway, and just drive cautious.
They recommended residents in communities near the southern end of Lake Michigan not to travel in the early morning hours, warning of gusty lake effect snow. For those who had no other choice, that wintry weather hampered Monday morning commutes in the Chicago area.
First time getting down here on the expressway, and now my tires popped. I have a job interview to go today.
Oh my God.
I have to take my son to school right now.
Some schools and districts were forced to cancel classes in southeast Wisconsin, leading to families there taking advantage of the early snowfall.
Just parents, take your kids out and let's enjoy the snow with the kids. You know, it'll be a good time. Let's go have some fun with it while it's here.
Despite coming in early, the snowfall is not historic, and it won't stick around for very long, as warming temperatures later this week will melt the snow. This lake effect snow is on the move, with the biggest impacts in parts of northeast Ohio and southwest New York State, including Chautauqua County. In Ashtabula, Ohio, I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel, Fox Weather.
Mike Seidel is always out in the cold weather. That guy, he's got some great jackets in the closet there. One of the big worries about the record cold weather in the eastern part of the country, of course, is how the temperatures will impact the Florida citrus crop. As Asher Red tells us, farmers say just a few degrees can make a huge difference in their fruit.
Citrus farmers here in Vero Beach, Florida tell me that the cold weather can actually make their fruit sweeter, and that's because the trees will take the sugar from the roots and put them in the fruits instead, which slows down that ripening process. But they say if the fruit freezes, it could ruin their crops. Some Florida citrus farmers, like Lewis Schacht, are keeping a close eye on temperatures this week.
Farmers watch the weather more than most people.
Colder weather is great for citrus. In fact, Schacht says that's why Florida oranges are so sweet. But there's a limit.
Once it gets in the 30s, we keep an eye on it. And then if it starts trending down into the 20s, then we really get, mobilized.
To avoid losing his crop, Schacht will actually water his trees.
We would turn on irrigation system, try to get some water around the trees to give off some warmth and give a little layer.
The freezing water forms a layer of ice around the fruit and branches, which acts as an insulator, protecting the warmer water inside the plant from the cold air. In 2021, the Florida Department of Citrus estimated the citrus industry supported more than 30,000 jobs. It also contributed nearly $7 billion to Florida's economy, and the state wants to protect that. So after freezes, the state eases up on the weight limit for citrus transports. That allows farmers to use larger trucks to harvest and move crops more quickly to save them from damage.
Pretty helpful for this one, should be okay.
Citrus season goes from now to April, so even if the crops freeze, farmers say they should be able to bounce back by the end of the season. In Vero Beach, Florida, Asher Red, Fox News.
You know it's cold when you start talking about that kind of cold down in central Florida, and there's freeze warnings back in effect northern Florida already. And we have temperatures right now in the low 40s and upper 30s. There's still a chance we're going to see some freezing conditions across the area tonight, but the flow has shifted around to the south direction, and the core of the coldest Arctic air is starting to slide on out of here as that air mass modifies. So the winds stay out of the south to southwest. Notice how these temperatures is not as rapid of a fall, at least for areas further west especially, but the overnight temperatures tonight, I went with an average low around 34 degrees. We're already down to 40 here at JSU, one of the camera views that we had. I wanted to remind you again, in case you missed this earlier in the show, we told you about the northern lights that will be visible again, possibly visible from Alabama tomorrow, because there is a level 4 out of 5 geomagnetic storm watch in effect, and we've seen a powerful solar flare, and we actually have a branch of NOAA called the Space Weather Prediction Center, and very important information when we start to see increased solar activity. It can have impacts on power grids, satellites. A lot of our weather data, sometimes I can always tell when there's been a solar flare. You'll see sometimes we'll miss a frame on some of the satellite data, but we watch for those. But when they're in that level 4, level 5 range, there's a chance that we can see the northern lights as far south as Alabama, especially if you have your mobile device. You look through the camera on your mobile device, because of that longer exposure time, a greater chance you may see it that way, but there's a chance that we could see the faint glow of the northern lights looking to the north. This would be tomorrow night. This looks the peak during the day, and why it happens is what you are basically seeing is all that material from the sun, from the solar flares, as it races towards Earth, it interacts with the magnetosphere, outer part of the atmosphere, and the atmosphere protects us, but it puts on quite a show, as you can see if you've ever seen the northern lights. Last year what happened is we had I believe it was a level 3 that was forecast. Ended up at last minute it jumped to like a 5, and that's why we had all those incredible photos here across Alabama. One of the most incredible things as far as sky watching we have seen around here in some time. But tomorrow evening we'll see. It's not a guarantee, but the general time would be in the evening. Just look to the north direction. Next 24 hours though, it's chilly tonight. Temperatures dropping, I mentioned, down into the 30s. There's a chance tomorrow morning out the door again. I mentioned a light freeze north and east, still that possibility, but the temperatures do rebound nicely for tomorrow. You can see those arrows on our model here. That shows the wind flow out of the south direction. Really doesn't let up tonight. So I know the wind's out of the south, but it's not a warm tropical breeze out of the south. It is a chilly breeze that we are going to feel tonight. So do bundle up out there. It's still feeling cold. Notice how the models bring in some clouds, and typically when we transition back into a milder environment, we'll probably get some more clouds that will mix in during the day tomorrow, and especially into the day, it looks like into Thursday, maybe a mixture of clouds and sunshine. But some nice weather coming up. Morning lows Thursday in the 40s, early Friday in the 40s, so we'll be well above freezing. Afternoon highs will be in the 70s. But the next chance of rain, next best chance that I'm seeing, looks like coming up next week. Now the weekend looks dry. Saturday looks incredible, but we're seeing possibilities that we might get into more of an active west to southwest flow that could bring some showers perhaps Tuesday and then towards the end of next week. The models right now are struggling with an upper low over the southwest U.S., and they often do. And once that system ejects out over the country, we'll have a better idea on exactly when that wet weather will move in. But we're still seeing signals that we will have a rain chance out there, but it has shifted more into next week. So what a stretch coming up here. I know it's been cold, but hey, we have 70s coming right back. In Wisconsin, families made the most of the November lake effect snow, which left several inches of snow across multiple counties. Mary Jo Alla has the story.
This November 10th will go down in history for these kids.
And there was like a foot of snow outside my house, and I was like, yes, I don't have to go to school.
It's the day some in Pleasant Prairie woke up to more than a foot of snow, thanks to the lake effect.
Woo! It was like frost last night, and now it's like a big, like millions of piles of snow.
Oh my, and it's not even Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah,
it's like
it's only November 10th. And my sister's birthday is in this month.
While Kenosha Unified Schools were closed,
my dad was like, okay, get ready for school. I was like, okay. And then my dad was like, not actually. I was like, what? And I looked outside, and I was very excited.
Everybody's out. This mountain of a hill was wide open.
We don't get as much snow as I remember as a kid, so it was exciting for them. They were outside by 8 o'clock this morning.
I love getting me so brave.
What's the best part about today?
I think that we got to go to the hill that there was snow.
Time after time after time, we watched daring sledders conquer this hill, only to climb back up and dive back down.
Where are you visiting from?
Tampa, Florida.
And we found out it was this 40-something's first time on a sled. He and his family were not going to miss out.
What do you think?
It's amazing. I love it. Cold, but you know.
There were a few tumbles, but mainly lots of snowy smiles.
Explore the wonders of weather with Weather in the Classroom. Scan the QR code now to help your kids soar to new heights with Soar with 6.
All right, we've got a nice weekend forecast right now. The way it's looking, it's trending a lot drier, especially Sunday, 76 degrees. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday coming up the afternoons, much warmer, highs in the low 70s. So overall, not too bad here. It's chilly tonight, but just hang in there. We will see a nice little warm up. When are we going to see some rain? Right now, it looks like next week. We're still trying to lock in the arrival of that next chance of showers. Models are telling us that there's a system out there, but it keeps pushing it back. Now it looks like around Tuesday at the earliest might see some showers next week. So check in for updates. We'll keep you posted. But how about all these lovely fall photos you have shared with us? I tell you what, you guys have quite the eye out there. Gorgeous. So look at this sunset on the Coosa River. Gil Horsley sharing this. This was outside of Sylacauga in the Fayetteville area there in Talladega County. And fall showing out in North Macedonia Baptist Church in the Vincent area. Donna Sorensen sharing this lovely view on the First Alert Weather app. And how about another another example of the peak fall color we're experiencing. This is from Alabaster, thanks to Wendy Kane for sending it to us also through the First Alert weather app. And those fall colors just so incredible. We've seen the yellows, the oranges, and now the reds really coming out, and the kids want to take part in helping to clean up the leaves out there. Jeff Jolly sent us this pic and tells us his grandkids decided to rake the leaves they wanted to take home because they thought they were so pretty. And you can see how chilly it was this morning with the ice on the plants in McCalla. Thanks to Lindsay Hall for sending this view. It was cold and icy, but we have improvements on the way. We'll be talking about that and the next chance of rain tonight. Join us for the latest